This video is brought to you by Squarespace, the all-in-one platform to build your perfect website. So welcome to a rather blustery Wales. Wow, it's bitterly cold today. Now, I've been walking part of the coastal path today, a place that I've not visited before, which has been really cool. I haven't found anything to shoot as yet, but I've got a very specific location in mind for this evening to shoot. And I've got something really exciting to share as well. Now, the specific shot I have in mind, I can only get to at a very, very low tide, which we do have today. And hopefully that's going to coincide with some nice light this evening because the forecast is looking favourable. So I'm really hopeful. I'm keeping everything crossed. So, as I previously mentioned, I've got something really exciting to share with you today that I'm really buzzing about. But before we get onto that, I just want to talk about photography gear just for a second. So around Christmas time, I mentioned that I was thinking of upgrading one of my lenses or purchasing a new lens for my wildlife photography. And I was looking at the 100 to 400 lens and I wasn't really sure if that was going to work out or not. Now, a lot of people in that video over Christmas sent me messages giving their advice, and I'm really grateful for that because, yeah, I took a lot of inspiration and advice from those messages, and I've decided not to go with the 100 to 400 lens because I don't think, like many of you suggested, that I'll gain that much from what I already have, which is a 70 to 300. So yeah, thanks for all of your input there. It really is helpful, especially, you know, since I've not used that lens before, and I know many of you guys have. So yeah, I won't be picking up the 100 to 400 lens. Trying to keep out of the wind. But yeah, a lot of people suggested in that video that I try the 500mm f5.6 prime lens because that might give me more reach and obviously a wider aperture, and because it's a premium lens as well, optically it should be better. So I do think that is definitely something I would like to do, and I'll probably rent it and give it a go maybe in a month or so. So if you follow the channel, you'll probably know that I use a Fuji X-H2, and this is a 70 to 300 lens, which I use for my attempted wildlife photography. I'm saying attempted because it's definitely something I've not mastered. But anyway, I have to be honest, I'm not getting on very well with this combo. A couple of weeks ago, I come across a pair of chuffs feeding in the field, and it was absolutely an amazing experience to watch them. Now, during that brief spell, about 5 minutes, I took around about 290 to 300 photographs. I was using bird detection as the setting on the camera to detect the bird, autofocus, and I've, searched the internet multiple times to get the very best autofocus settings, and I think I've got everything set up just right. And I was getting the green box appearing on my LCD, saying that it had detected the bird and it was focused on the bird's head, which was absolutely fantastic. I was checking some of my photos, but when you're in the moment shooting wildlife, you're really trusting your gear, aren't you? So I was putting all of my trust in the gear. Anyway, when I got back, I reckon probably 10 out of the 290 odd photos was actually in focus, even though the camera was telling me it was in focus. And that is really disappointing, I think. So yeah, I was absolutely gutted. To be fair, I did get a couple of keepers, so it wasn't a complete disaster, but I think some of my better compositions I had to throw away just because they weren't in focus. So the focus point was either just before or just out after the birds in the majority of the images, and they weren't moving that much. My shutter speed was very high, between 1,000th and 2,000th of a second. So yeah, I don't think I was doing anything wrong particularly, but yeah, the green box was saying it was in focus and it wasn't. So I'm pretty disappointed about that. So I think I'd have actually got more keepers had I manually focused on the birds. But anyway, I just thought I'd share that with you because it's really important. I think that when I talk about cameras and these things, I often talk about how good things are, but I think it's very important to talk about when there are issues as well. Anyway, on to this exciting thing that I can't wait to tell you about. So let's just get a little bit of shelter here for a second. And I need to give you a bit of a backstory. So 25 years ago, my wife and I, we travelled to Australia on a year working visa, which was absolutely fantastic. After a couple of weeks, we managed to purchase a Mitsubishi Express van, which was absolutely awesome. I think we bought it at auction, and we did a very basic camper van conversion on it, and I mean basic. We put some curtains in the back, I think we had an airbed and just some camping equipment, but we lived in that van for 8 months. We travelled from Sydney to Cape Tribulation, then through to Alice Springs, and then back down to Sydney again, and it was a fantastic trip, it really was. We then sold the van and worked in Sydney for, I think it was about 4 months. We saved enough money to continue our trip to New Zealand. So we flew to New Zealand and we spent a month touring around the North Island in a rented camper van, and it was absolutely brilliant. We got to see so much, and it was a trip of a lifetime, it really was, and I feel very lucky and grateful to be able to have done that. It really was so special. So on those trips, I really got the bug for photography. I think it's what planted the seed for me to take it a bit more seriously, and yeah, I think without those trips, maybe I wouldn't be here doing this. So yeah, even now I still look back and think what a great decision it was to sell our house and just go, you know, just do it. It was absolutely fantastic. But why am I telling you this? Well, ever since those trips, I don't think there's been a week that's gone by without me thinking to myself, do you know what? One day I'm going to buy a van, I'm going to convert it into a camper van, and I'm going to go around the UK and beyond capturing amazing photographs. So here it is, the new vehicle. Now, I just want to say before I show you inside of the van, I'm not about to turn my channel into a van life channel, nor will I be doing any van conversion videos either. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Genuinely, I love watching those videos, but this channel is all about photography and I want it to remain that way. It's my passion, it's what I love doing, and this really is going to be a tool that will allow us to reach environments that just wouldn't be possible if I was relying on, you know, hotels, that type of thing. So yeah, this is just going to be a tool to help us get out there and reach new locations and have amazing adventures that I can share with you. So yeah, I can't wait to see what it will bring. Now, I may do a van tour video maybe once I've got it all finished, if that might be of interest to you. Maybe I'll share some updates as we go along like I'm doing right now, or maybe I'll add a few bits into my weekly newsletter as well, just to keep you updated on what's going on behind the scenes as always. Anyway, before we get on to taking a bit of a look around and show you what I've got planned, I'd just like to kindly thank the sponsor of this week's video, which is Squarespace. Now, building a website with Squarespace is really easy because they offer a wide selection of award-winning templates that will get you up and running really, really quickly. And they have AI technology as well to help you create a really unique looking website. Now, I'm in the process of creating a black and white gallery on my website at the moment, and I just love how simple it is to add photos. You just literally upload your images, rearrange them if needed, and it's done in a couple of clicks. Plus, every Squarespace site is optimized for search engines, so you can ensure your work gets as much visibility as possible. Now, there's a special link in my video description, and clicking it really does help to support this channel. So, to set up your very own website, be sure to check out squarespace.com for a free trial. And when you're ready to launch, go to squarespace.com/Ian Worth to save 10% off your first purchase of a website or domain. Right, let's go and take a look at the van. So the plan is in the back here to insulate all of the ceilings and carpet them so they're all nice and tidy. And I think over on this side just here, I'm going to put a sink unit with some cupboards underneath it. And then around here in the back here, I'm going to put a couple of bench seats in. They'll flip over then to create the bed space just here. So yeah, that's the plan. Now, I'm not planning to do any solar panels or anything like that. I've got my Jackery Explorer 1000, I think it is. So I'm going to use that for all of my energy. I'm not having a fridge, I'm just going to have a cool box. I'm keeping it really simple, almost like camping out of a van really, as opposed to like a motorhome. Now, I want to do a really nice job on it, but I also don't want to go overboard either. You know, I'm a surfer, I want to chuck my boards in here. I'll probably be getting changed in here in the winter months when it's freezing cold. So it'd be nice to have a diesel heater as well. My dogs are going to be coming in and out of here. Obviously, you know, doing these videos, I'm always covered in mud as well. So I do know it's going to get some heavy use. So I don't want to be too precious about it, but I want to get that balance right between it looking nice, and you know, somewhere cozy where you can come after a cold hike somewhere, or if you're soaking wet, and just chill out and sort of revitalise yourself and get ready for the next walk or the next adventure. So yeah, I think that should be pretty good. But yeah, I'm sure it'll evolve as I go. These are just my initial thoughts after a couple of days of having the van. But anyway, I think it's time now to head on down to the location, and hopefully we can get a shot that's hopefully a little bit more unique. So let's go. So a few weeks ago, I mentioned in a video that I quite like to challenge myself to see if I can get unique photographs at very well photographed spots. And that's exactly what we're going to be trying to do today. Now, the location we're going to is a spot that I've visited many times. In fact, it's a place where I come and do some of my workshops. So it's going to be really interesting to see if we can make something quite unique, or at least unique to me, down at this spot today. Let me spin you around and I'll show you exactly where we're going. So that's where we're heading. We're going to be heading down those stairs there into this little cove, and this is Church Doors Cove, and this is the back of it. And as you can see, with the low tide, hopefully we should be able to get round this side of it, and maybe try and get a shot looking back this way, which is a little bit different to the usual shot. I've got no idea if it's going to work out, but yeah, we will see. Let's get down there. It's so windy today. I'm hopeful that it's going to be a little bit more sheltered around the other side. Now, I have to be a little bit careful on these rocks because they are super slippy. But this is the location where the majority of the people take their photographs from, myself included, because it's a great vantage point. You get a great look through the arch itself. But I want to head around the other side. Now, the tide is literally just right, I think, at the minute, and the tide is turning in about 5 minutes, so we're right at low tide. So I think I've probably only got a short window, maybe of about 20 minutes to capture this shot before I need to get out of there. Otherwise I'm going to be stuck, and we really don't want that to happen. Let me spin you around and I'll show you the sort of standard viewpoint from this location. So you can see the entrance, or the opening to the cave there, which is fantastic. When the light's coming from over there, the light shines right through it and looks fantastic. And around about 3 or 4 meters, this bay, the water's around this sort of height as well, so the water comes rushing through, which is also fantastic. But I need to get across these rocks, so I'm going to put you down for a second. But it's still windy down here as well. Anyway, what I've decided to do, because I don't want to disturb the sand, is walk around on this wet sand here, so at least then when the tide comes in a bit, it's going to wash over my footprints and hopefully aid my composition. So yeah, I've just been a bit mindful. I have got to keep an eye on things here because it could get a little bit dangerous, so yeah, caution is definitely the word I think we need to use. Right, let's get around there. This side of the arch looks even more spectacular, I think. You get really close to it, get that sense of scale as well, which is fantastic. I think the issue I might have is my wide angle lens might not be wide enough, so I might even end up shooting a panorama with a wide angle lens, I don't know. But I think it's time to get something figured out. So I've got my framing set up here. What I'd like is the tide to wash in a little bit more, but obviously with shooting a panorama, as that tide washes through, it's going to be very, very difficult to stitch it together. So I'm probably going to be taking about 6 shots here vertically with the 13mm Viltrox lens throughout this whole panoramic framing. Now, I've spent absolutely ages trying to get my tripod perfectly level. I think I've done that. As I spin through the panorama, everything is level. I've got my digital level displayed on the LCD there. The issue I have is I don't have my L bracket. For some reason I've lost it, so I haven't been using it recently. And with this tripod you have to flip the head over, which means you're probably about 2 or 3 inches off center with your camera, which can make stitching quite a bit more difficult. But I'm really keeping my fingers crossed this works out. So yeah, I'm going to make sure I've got everything in manual mode. So that's my white balance, all of my settings in manual, so nothing's going to change throughout the whole series of images. And I'm exposing for the brightest part, which is on the horizon there. So every time I take a series of shots, I'll make sure my highlights are protected on that far horizon there, just to make sure I'm not going to lose any information as I get through the sweep of shots. Actually, there's a bit more mood and texture in the sky right now as well, and obviously that light out there definitely adds something. It draws the eye out to the left hand side. One of the things, isn't it, about shooting a panorama, always reminds me a little bit of shooting on film, because you don't really know what you're going to get until later on. You can't see it, can you? So yeah, it's quite fun, isn't it? Anyway, let's go ahead, take this series of shots right now, and I'll just make sure my exposure is correct for the horizon. I'm just going to back that off a little bit. 50th of a second now, so things are getting a little bit brighter. Right, let's make this sweep. Making sure I've got at least a third overlap on every single shot. So I do hope you enjoyed this week's video, and I'm really looking forward to some of the adventures we're going to be having in the van once it's built. If you did enjoy this video, you might like the one that's up the top there, and why not check out my Light in the Landscape guidebook, which is absolutely free and is linked at the top there. Anyway, thanks so much for watching, and I do hope to see you all again next week.